Today we're going to talk about technology, gadgets, and one in particular that I love. Welcome to Good Morning Commute. So, technology is awesome, according to me. I love gadgets. I've always loved gadgets. And I think that, it's something that sort of I get made fun of sometimes for because of the potential or unseen uselessness of some of the things that I think are cool. And in some cases, I'll even invest money in those things. And we are going to talk about one of those things today. But we're also going to talk about the usefulness of this item in the larger scheme of things, and why I can justify to myself investing a little bit of money in it, even if, to me, it's really only going to be a toy. What I'm talking about is a device currently being developed by Commute Labs in California. Now, you may not have heard of that company because they are not Apple. They are not as big as some of the other major technology development companies. But they have done something amazing. They have created a motion control device that doesn't use cameras. So when you think about motion control, right, we can go back to the Wii, for example, which has the remote control with the sensor in it that reads what's on top of the TV, or rather sends a signal to that little strip that's on top of your TV, and it relays information that way. Now, this is very basic, obviously. It can get general types of motion. I believe there's probably an accelerometer inside the remote, but that's about it. It's fairly basic as far as motion control goes. But for something that was consumable by the public, it was a big deal. It was pretty exciting. It was cutting edge at the time. And then you move on to the Kinect, and what we have now with the Xbox One Kinect, which follows all your motions, tracks everything in real time through a 3D environment using a camera, which was sort of the next evolution of that. And that gives you a little more versatility, obviously. It's picking up more from the surrounding environment. Now, I have to get a little bit of gas, so we will be right back. Okay, we're back. The device that I really want to talk about today, the Myo Armband by Commute Labs. Take a look. So my first impression when I saw that video was, I have to have this, obviously. To be perfectly honest, since I was a little kid, I've always wanted sort of, telepathic, but also telekinetic more than anything, powers. And when I saw that 4-rotor helicopter, and I saw the kid moving the ball, less exciting, granted, that just lit up something inside me, some sort of childish, or childlike, I'd prefer to call it, reaction, that this is fun, this is really cool, and this is a step towards that type of technology that's going to be able to simulate almost some of those powers that I wanted as a little kid. That, in the way that with Google Glass, which I hate to say, because it's Google Glass, right? It's too many GLs right next to each other. I think they should have called it Google Optics, right? A little more aesthetically, it rolls off the tongue. Granted, it does have a slab of glass that makes it so, and it's Google, so we'll give it to them, I suppose. You say, okay, glass, whatever. Which, by the way, I think is one of the main reasons that they're not selling all that well, because that's embarrassing to do that in public. I don't want to walk around New York City yelling, okay, glass, to myself. I would have no problem wearing the glasses, but that's me. I love technology, so I think that's an aspect for it too. Maybe as small as it is and as streamlined as it is, and as much power as they can put into something as small as that, I think there are a number of people who still think it's probably too bulky, and it's not something that they would want to wear around in their daily lives. Now, with the Mayo armband by Thalmic Labs, you could control your devices without talking to them, but by doing certain hand gestures. So when you're driving, you could make a hand gesture, and it'll do recent call back the person you called, and so that's going to be a little bit of hands-free, which is nice. Now, the next bit I want to talk about is why this is important beyond the scope of being able to turn your volume up without touching your remote. I think it's interesting that they don't touch upon this in the video, but one of the main benefits that I see for the future is prosthesis, right? Because it's reading the nerve signals from your brain to your hand in this case. And I mean, isn't that sort of the goal of prosthesis, right? It's not to have wires and strings and pulleys like there were way back in the day when they first were developed. And obviously we're getting a lot better now, and there are prostheses that are available that do link up to the nervous system. But the price is astronomical. I think that this, being a consumer product, is one of the first steps to bringing relatively cheap and effective prosthesis to people who have lost limbs. I don't yet have this item. It is not yet completed, so I was, what you would call an early investor. This is the first time I was sort of investing in this type of thing, this, project under development. Is it going to be finished? I didn't know, and frankly, I was, a little bit nervous. And, I think in the future I'd like to do more of that. I think that that's the next step in technological development, right? Because you have these behemoth companies that just have so many hoops to jump through before they can get an idea from concept to reality. And they have their enormous business model to look at, marketing strategy. Is this going to make us a ton of money? And, there's about 100 people that have to answer that question yes before it can go into production. Moving forward with these types of technologies, the Mayo, the Oculus Rift, right? It was just a guy who basically went out and said, I want to find an awesome virtual reality headset. Couldn't do it, and so he built his own. I think that's the future of innovation, such as the Mayo with prostheses. So do I have it? No. I think it was going to be February, January, November. It's August of 2014. When that comes, I will do a showcase for you. It may not be in the car. I may do it in my apartment just for the safety of it, because it's going to be a new thing and I don't know what I'm doing. I may practice with it and then do it in the car. But either way, when I get it, I will show it to you because I am excited about it, and I think that it's going to be a cool little gadget. The point I want to end on as we pull into my office here is that these technologies, while fun on the surface, have the potential to be very, very, very beneficial to a large community of folks that have, suffered because of needing prosthesis. So on that note, I will say thank you for joining me for another episode of Good Morning Commute, and I will see you tomorrow.